Game on. Game on.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
So serious.
I am Iron Man.
This is a tasty burger.
Welcome to the InSession Film Podcast.
Welcome to episode 656 for September 30th, 2025, and I'm Jaded Duran.
And I'm Brendan Cassidy.
Hey, thanks for joining us, everybody. Happy spooky season. I know I just mentioned the date there, and it's September still as we're recording this, but when this episode is released, it is officially October,
You
welcome,
kind of stuttered
everybody.
there with that date. It's like you weren't sure if it was the spooky season just yet.
Oh, no, I was very confident. I knew that this episode is going to come out the next day, which will be October 1st. So, welcome everybody to spooky season. And we are going to start off October. Start off spooky season the way everybody does. That's right, by talking about sports movies.
InSession Sports is back, sort of, in a way.
Yeah, baby. Should we just kick off the show by talking about college football or the NFL?
No, we should not.
The NHL season is about to begin next week as well. So, look, it's an appropriate time to talk about sports, I guess.
It absolutely
It's
is.
a good time
We've had many sessions of InSession Sports over the years, to the dismay of some of our listeners who probably don't follow sports at all.
Yeah.
So we do apologize for that. But sometimes we have a few things we have to get off our chest.
Sometimes we do, yes.
You and I were talking offline about my Penn State Nittany Lions, and I pretty much said
Yeah.
my piece to you. And I'm frustrated, and I don't really want to go into it again.
I think that's perfectly fair. And yeah, I mean, I could sit here all day talking about Michigan and their star, or the Lions. My Detroit Lions are off to a good start. The Tigers are in the playoffs. They won the first game of their series today.
Yeah.
My Red Wings, who knows? I'm loving the young rookies. They look really good. So yeah, I could sit here and absolutely have an in-session sports segment. But with the Smashing Machine coming out this weekend, we decided, you know what? Instead of talking about sports, we'll talk about movie sports.
Yeah.
And that's what we're going
to do. Is there any other kind of sport?
Well, there's awards sports.
Oh,
which
well,
is
we
a
already
whole
do.
nother animal.
We already do cover that.
We do.
Chasing the Gold is basically our version of InSession Sports, just not
Yeah.
for actual sports. Not for
Exactly.
sports.
Exactly. Not for sports. And here we're going to talk about movie sports. And specifically, we haven't done this in a while, but I thought Brennan brought up a really interesting idea here. We're going to be doing a movie draft of sports movies that are based on true events. So that's what we're going to do here. And we'll talk more about that as we get to the back half of the episode. But we are going to be doing a draft. I'm very excited to get into that. To begin the show this week, let's continue talking about the great Paul Thomas Anderson.
We should probably
His
just do a
latest
bunch of it.
film.
Why don't we just start a PTA podcast?
Might as well. A little PTA spinoff show.
I mean, seriously, we can review his movies, each one maybe 15 times, and it'll be a different conversation every time.
Every time, yeah. We have a review of One Battle After Another. It is available right now. We were joined by the great Matthew Anderson, another wonderful Anderson of the Lone Screenplay Nomination Podcast. He joined us to talk about the film. We had a really fun discussion. It went nearly 2 hours. And, you know, for us, that is a pretty long review. But I noticed that our friends over at Next Best Picture went 4 hours on the movie.
I feel like a lot of podcasts, movie podcasts specifically, are going to go long on this one.
Yeah, perhaps. I saw that timestamp and I was like, you know what? Our review that was an hour and 58 minutes, not as bad, actually, turns out.
Which one came first? Did we post ours first, or did Next Best Picture post theirs before ours?
I saw the timestamp after our show came out, but I think their review actually came out before ours.
Okay, because I was going to say it really does look like a hold my beer moment from their point of view.
Yeah. So, And they usually have more than 2 or 3 people on a review.
Oh yeah,
to
their
be fair
panel
to them as
reviews are
well.
pretty extensive sometimes.
Yeah, there's like more of like a round table discussion a lot of the time, so you get a lot of voices. We don't tend to do that too much. We like to have a more intimate conversation here. But even with the 3 of us, I thought we went pretty in depth on the film and went a little longer than we usually do. But it's Paul Thomas Anderson. It was
There's a
certainly
lot to talk
warranted.
about.
That's absolutely for sure.
Yeah.
So go check out that review. We had a great conversation. Wanted to bring him up here, even though we haven't done this a whole lot this year, but certainly worth bringing up in this context because, again, going back to awards sports, clearly this is going to be an awards contender. There's no doubt about it. The only caveat, though, one concern that I think some of us had was how this was going to fare at the box office because the initial tracking was not very good.
Right.
Was not very good. And if this came out and completely bombed, and I mean utterly, utterly bombed, I was curious how that would affect the awards race. It was always going to be a contender, but if this film came out and made $20 million in its run, not opening weekend, but just its run, then you got to think it's not going to be as much of a player as we had hoped. So we were all curious because the tracking wasn't very good, but it turns out that it garnered a $24 million domestic return this weekend. Currently worldwide, it is at $53 million. And that number currently is the biggest opening for PTA.
And it's actually one of his overall higher grossing movies in totality, because I think up until this point, isn't something like There Will Be Blood his highest grossing movie at something like 70 million or something like that, maybe even more than that. Yeah, so this is already not too far off.
Yeah. This will likely, again, because it just had its opening week, and now it's going to lose a bunch of IMAX screens, unfortunately, this weekend. I don't know if after the Taylor Swift event, it'll be able to get more of that in week 3. One hopes that is the case. But
Tay and PTA should work together.
Yeah. You also got Tron Ares on the way as well, which one assumes that will take up some IMAX screens.
Yeah.
But either way, regardless of how it shakes out, one has to assume it's going to get over that $70 million, $80 million hump. This will end up being his best in terms of box office gross. And it's already done enough that I don't think it's going to affect the award season at all.
No.
I think we've overcame those concerns. It's not going to make its $150 million back.
No.
At this point, I don't think it needs to for Warner Brothers.
No, this is actually something I appreciate about Warner Brothers, and this is perhaps where I have to give them some credit for how they were able to strategize their release schedule for this year, because I don't know if they were time travelers and knew how well the Minecraft movie was going to do, where they had enough to bankroll some of these other films that might not do as well, but will have more of an artistic run than a monetary run specifically. And they clearly saw something in one battle after another. And clearly their agenda with this movie was not the same as what it was with some of their previous hits earlier this year. So even though this technically does end Warner Brothers box office winning streak this year, it almost seems like that was done deliberately, because they knew that this movie was meant to hit in a very different way.
Yeah, I want to agree with you to say that was a strategic choice to put this at the tail end. It's going to be this big awards player
Or they
after
just got lucky.
releasing all of those other movies that were hopefully going to make a lot of money.
Yeah.
But we're talking about Warner Brothers here, and I'm actually quite dubious. I think that was an accidental success. I don't think any of that was done intentionally. Now, I do have to give them credit. You are right. We have to give them credit that regardless of whatever the strategy was, and
worked.
again, one assumes that this was greenlit or maybe around the same time as the other movies that also came out this year, but you never know because projects can take years and there's overlap
Oh yeah. Well, this one I think PTA was trying to get off the ground for some time, if I'm not
for
mistaken.
some time. So
Yeah.
this could have been greenlit years and years ago, not knowing when it was going to come out.
Mm-hmm.
So regardless of what led them to greenlight this, you have to give them kudos that they did give him that $150 million, whatever it was for this movie, plus
Yeah.
some of marketing that did go into it.
Sure.
They clearly didn't pour a ton of marketing into this because they had already spent $130 million, but they did enough. And it, again, probably accidental, but it worked out really well that they had such a great year with their big blockbuster movies that they could afford to take a loss here. And honestly, I think they were banking on that. That's probably why, especially after Minecraft came out, they're like, you know what? Maybe we'll pull back some of that marketing budget. We'll recoup some assets there. And, you know, it's okay if we lose on this. That was probably the strategy in the aftermath of Minecraft.
And if they knew the movie was going to be good, like awards contender good, and they had a different agenda with this one, you know that at some point later in the year, maybe early next year, it will get a re-release, maybe even in IMAX.
And that's also a great point because it's already above 50, as we're somewhat assuming it'll get over that $70-80 million mark and There Will Be Blood for PTA. So it's going to be his best movie box office wise for whatever that's worth to Warner Brothers. But you make a great point that whatever they do at the box office now, that may double come January when this is re-released after it gets an Oscar nomination for Best Picture, maybe Best Director, Best Actor, Supporting Actress, perhaps, cinematography, editing.
Yeah. And then if it goes on to win,
that.
and then if it goes on to win, like some people are speculating for some of these major awards, if not all of them, that's another revenue stream that Warner Brothers can capitalize on in the streaming world. So
exactly
the additional money that they can get from it.
Exactly. Whether it's premium on demand after, maybe they put this on PVOD after those nominations come out.
Yeah.
In addition to re-releasing it in the theaters to kind of double dip there, because people are going to be interested to see the film, whether they go back to the theaters or they rent it at home.
Right.
And then whatever value they put onto it whenever it gets to HBO Max, it'll get there eventually, maybe before the Oscars, the actual ceremony itself.
Yeah.
In early March, I believe it is.
Yeah.
So, all of that is going to accumulate. There's no doubt about it. So let's just say, for the sake of argument, if it ends at $80 million and then you get the re-release and the premium on demand, could that maybe get another 20? Could that get to 100 million?
And honestly, the fact that a movie like this, regardless of its budget, can get into the at least $100 million mark is pretty good for a movie like this.
Very good. Yeah. So, and again, we don't know what the marketing budget is, but if the film with marketing, let's say, is around 200, to cut that in half, if you're Warner Brothers, you got to be thrilled with that.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because as you said, they could overcome those other losses with their other hits that they had earlier this year. So, if you want to look at the income statement there, they're able to rebalance and rejigger things in the right way. So all of a sudden their bottom line looks good regardless.
Yeah. And they made so much money on those other movies that everything that we just said, they might not give a shit at all.
Exactly.
We're trying to justify or give this film some sort of kudos and success. I'm like, it may come to $100 million. They may cut those losses in half. And for all we know, Warner Brothers is already lighting bills on fire in their offices. Like they just don't care because they made so much more money this year. On the other, so who knows? But it's Warner Brothers, and they have made decisions for less. So I don't think that they're just there wasting money, throwing it down the toilet when they have just thrown full movies into the garbage can.
Right now, they are Leo DiCaprio and the Wolf of Wall Street on top of the boat throwing money at FBI agents. That's basically what they're doing.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, that's my initial thought, but I also don't know if that's the case, given that they've thrown 2 movies into the garbage can that were completely edited and done. So we're also talking about a company that very much cares about the bottom line. Like, very much cares. So, like, even with the success, maybe they are counting pennies as far as how, the success of this. I could also see that reality.
This almost makes it seem as though it's their attempt to get back some goodwill for the negative reaction for canning those movies. And if that was the case, then again, maybe I'm giving them too much credit because they can't be that strategic and that smart about how well this worked out for them. But regardless, it worked out for them, and the movies they put out this year really made it look like it almost felt like the way a production company treated big movies like they did back in the 2000s. Like, the way that Warner Brothers treated their entertainment in 2025 felt reminiscent of how it was 20 years ago, which is something you and I and many of our fellow colleagues have been asking for. So, like, as much as we want to throw Warner Brothers under the bus for some of the stupid decisions they've made in the past, they're at least respecting artistic integrity with these string of films that did well too. So, like, that's awesome to see.
That is awesome to see. And yeah, I mean, I sit here and criticize them as much as everybody else. And
They're
you
not
are
perfect.
right. We have absolutely laid down the hammer on them with some of the decisions they've made, but you do have to give them credit for giving Paul Thomas Anderson that much money, knowing that they were going to take a huge loss.
Yeah.
And coming into the year, perhaps they were hoping that their other films would do well, but none of that was guaranteed. It was still a risk, and they were willing to make that risk.
Yeah.
They rightfully assumed that this was going to be an awards player, and it will be. They're going to be right about that for sure.
It will be. It's probably going to win a lot of awards.
For sure. I certainly hope so. I certainly hope so. All right. I'm sure we'll have much more to talk about with one battle after another as the award season rolls on. I guess one last thought on awards, since we're already here. Next week, October 7th, the singing actresses for K-pop Demon Hunters is going to be on Jimmy Fallon, which means that Netflix is beginning the campaign for that movie next week.
Yep.
Which my son is super, super excited for. And I don't really get into awards all that much. Obviously, we certainly talk about them here.
Oh, yeah.
We leave the X's and O's to Shadon and the Chasing the Gold team.
Yeah.
But
They're
say
experts.
I'm going to be paying attention, I think, to animated and the song categories this year because Sam is extremely invested in this film.
That's so cute.
Deeply loves it. He may even go, he's going back and forth between a few different outfits, but he may go as one of the characters for Halloween. And I have never I haven't felt this much of a rooting interest with awards in a long time. Like, I really want this film to do well and to win so I can see his face when they announce them on stage at the Oscars.
Has he ever watched the Oscars with you?
No, he's never had a reason to. But
Well,
now
there you
he's
go.
got a
That's
rooting
so cute.
interest. Yeah, so this will be the first year where he's going to get to watch some of it, or at least he's going to pay attention to those two categories. And if they win, if they do the ceremony properly and have, them sing a song on stage, perhaps.
Well,
He's going to be so excited. He's going to lose it, and I'm going to lose it watching him lose it. It's going to be fun.
We have talked about this, you and I offline, doing a couple live reactions of things. That's something you have to film for the InSession Film brand.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to have Brandy record something during the moment. So that way we can get a reaction of it, because
that's great content right there.
Yes. If they win an Oscar, especially for song, if they win one of the songs, he's gonna go crazy like we root for our sporting teams. Like and it's going to be
Yeah.
fun. It's going to be really exciting. So
At this
I
point-
am deeply rooting. Like, so I'm paying attention to all the K-pop stuff right now.
At this point,
So.
could K-pop actually win Best Animated Feature?
I think so. Like, honestly, looking at it now, and I don't know what else is coming out this year in terms of animated film. I would assume that there's at least one more coming down.
I mean, if Zootopia 2.
Zootopia 2 is that's the one we got to be on the lookout for.
Yeah,
And
but
look,
if
that one
if
could
that's
be great.
it could be, but if that's another Moana 2, then I don't know if I would place my bets on it.
Well, and that's where we have to see what is that going to be. Zootopia, the first one, did win the Oscar, if I'm not mistaken.
I think it did. Yeah, 2016. I think that was.
That doesn't necessarily mean anything as far as this year is concerned, but
Right.
if the film is good, and I do think the field is pretty weak this year so far,
Yeah.
Zootopia 2 doesn't have to be super great to still win that Oscar, especially because it is a Disney product. And we know that generally voters lean toward that way. But who knows? That whole ethos, that idea could be shifting. That might be an old school mentality after Flow winning last year
Yeah.
over a popular animated film from one of the mainstream studios.
Yeah.
So that tide could be shifting. That doesn't necessarily mean anything. And K-pop has been such a huge hit. It is the #1 movie ever for the most streams ever on Netflix. And we talked about the songs being in the top 5 and the top 10 from a movie soundtrack, which is wild.
Yeah. They're all over Spotify right now too. So it's like
Absolutely.
I mean, you can't go into a playlist and not see a song from that movie now.
And now they're going to be on the Tonight Show.
Yeah, exactly. Like you go on a playlist on Spotify, you go to like a death metal playlist. You'll find one of those songs in there for some godforsaken reason.
They're there. And I do think the soundtrack is great. I
Sure.
don't mind listening to, because Sam plays it all the time. And I'm not
catchy.
tired of the songs at all. Like
They're catchy.
They're really good, catchy songs. Yeah, and I really do enjoy the film a lot. I mean, to me, it's that race comes down to K-pop and Neza 2, which I also really like a lot. But I don't think Neza 2, despite it being this huge sensation overseas, especially in China, it didn't really leave that much of a mark here in the States. So I don't think that it's going to be a huge awards player. It might get a nomination, but I don't think it poses a threat to K-pop, even if I think those are the two best by far at this point animated films of the year.
And that's a good
We'll
point
see.
because anytime that category and the Academy honors an animated movie that's more, whether it be a foreign language film or something that made more of a splash overseas, there is still a trickle or a trickle effect from that market into ours. Like, let's say if it's a Studio Ghibli film or something like that, there's still a huge audience for that here in the States. And I think because of that, K-pop certainly has more of the American culture behind its back, and that's going to give it an edge.
For sure, for sure. But I will say this as well, to Neza's corner, I guess. I would not say that Flow captured the American audience last year either.
Yeah, that was a weird one. That was a really weird one.
That was a film critic cinephile movie that got a lot of momentum because all the critics groups started to vote for it over The Wild Robot.
Yeah.
And then you get to the Annies, and even though I think ultimately The Wild Robot won the Annie, it was a close race there.
It was, yeah.
And obviously we don't know what the final voting for the Academy was, but I bet it was something like 51-49. It was probably super close.
One
that was
vote.
a back and forth race all season long.
Yeah.
And again, that was championed by the film critics groups and cinephiles.
It was.
So who's to say that can't happen for Neza too? It's going to need some sort of champion though as well, because the other big thing is the director for Flow was he came to the United States and was everywhere. He posting on social media, he was the awards campaign and killed it.
His self-promotional talents really did help that movie.
He was fantastic. He was
Yeah.
really, really good.
Yeah.
Nazar
Yeah.
too would need that. They would
It
need
needs
a
a backer
champion,
like that. Yeah.
whoever that may be. But assuming that it gets one,
Mm-hmm.
it could follow that formula. It could follow the flow formula and be a major player.
It could go
But
with
we'll
the flow.
see. It could go with the flow. Yeah, that's the new phrase.
The new
We
phrase
made
for
that up.
yeah, we made that up. No one else did.
No one
Where's our
else
money?
did.
Let's-
Exactly. Anyway, I didn't mean to take us down that rabbit hole, but all right, let's move on. Let's talk about everyone's favorite topic, artificial intelligence, AI. And I don't know if we have to spend a lot of time here, but there's been a lot of talk about this AI actress. Her name is Tilly, and depending
What
on
a
who
name.
you ask, she has a problematic background. Lots of bad tweets, saying bad things about our president. But it's been extremely controversial because apparently maybe not a lot, but some talent agencies have been courting this quote unquote actress, Tilly Norwood. But of course, SAG-AFTRA, they condemned the whole thing, and other talent agencies have condemned it. And there's been a lot of pushbacks. Obviously, all of the actors have pushed back against this. I don't know what to make of it right now because this is really the first public occurrence of an AI actress of this. I don't know how to phrase it. I don't want to say caliber, but where the AI is this
fakery
modeled, this formed that they feel they can put into actual movies. This isn't going to go away, which is why I wanted to bring it up. It's the first time we've seen it. I'm glad that we've seen the pushback, but I don't think this is going anywhere.
This kind of reminds me of that story some years ago when some directors were making some war movie that I don't even think ever happened. And I guess the actor that they wanted to get for it was James Dean. Remember that story? Like they wanted to resurrect James Dean in the form of artificial intelligence because they felt he was, quote, the only actor who could play this character that they were writing. So they were going to bring him back from the dead. This was, I think, maybe 5 years ago or something like that. And I guess nothing came of it. So
Thank God.
perhaps I use that as an example to say that maybe I'm optimistic that nothing will actually come of this, but it is still worth talking that if there are talent agencies out there that are actually interested in this fake actress, then that is a real life horror movie waiting to happen. There's a great interview recently. I forget who it was with, but I know it was with Emily Blunt. She was on some type of podcast, and someone brought this up to her, asking if she has heard about this actress and the fact that some talent agencies were actually looking for her and hoping to sign her. Emily Blunt's reaction is priceless, where she literally just pauses and says, "We're all screwed." That's all she says. But I think her sentiments are valid, and I understand it.
Yeah, and this is one of those moments where we have to continue to push back. We have to be loud about it. Sometimes you need to go out into the streets and bang pots and pans together and scream your bloody head off.
Yeah.
To let these people know it's not okay.
Yeah.
Nobody wants this. No one that actually cares about film anyway is going to want this. But the problem is that there are a lot of people out there who don't care about the actual people in the industry that this would be affected by.
Yeah.
Because it's not just actresses. AI is looking to take over a lot of jobs. Not even just in Hollywood, but across America in general.
Yeah.
So you have to draw a line where AI can be utilized effectively as a tool. That's where it's at its best.
Yep.
We talked about that at length with The Brutalist. When you use it as a tool that can help you do your job as a human being who is being paid for your services and your skills, that's one thing.
Yeah.
But the moment you utilize it like this, trying to replace those people, that's where it obviously is nightmarish.
Yeah, because it becomes basically it becomes another tool, as you said, that someone can actually use and manipulate, so it hasn't taken away that person's job. And we've seen great examples of that. This is not an example of that. Not an example of that at all. This is something that would take actors' jobs away. And sadly, there are a lot of people out there who just don't notice the difference anymore. Like I won't say who, but I've even had family members who really only use Facebook nowadays, who will text me saying, like, because they know I'm the movie guy in the family, they'll text me saying, "Oh God, I just heard they're remaking No Country for Old Men with Tom Cruise." And I'm like, "What the hell are you talking about?" And they show me this absolutely fake looking AI generated poster that someone posted on Facebook, and they're buying into this shit. Like, they're buying into it.
And that to me is maybe the scariest part. And I use that word, unfortunately, sincerely there, because you and I are chronically online enough anyway that we can tell the difference between something that is AI generated and something that isn't.
Yeah. Or
However,
we've heard the
there
news
are-
and we've heard the rumblings beforehand to know what the story is.
Yeah. And there are a lot of other people who don't have as much experience seeing stuff that is AI generated, where they easily fall for this thinking that it's real.
Yeah.
And that's indicative of a lot of social media posts I've seen. It's family members I've talked to, because I've had similar things happen to your story where a family member of mine has seen something clearly AI, but they respond to it thinking that it's real. A lot of people cannot tell the difference.
Yeah.
Which to my mind's eye is kind of crazy. I can't wrap my mind around that, because to me it's so clearly evidently AI. But maybe you and I, we seen of art, we talk about art all the time, that it's just easier for us to see the differences there.
Yeah.
So I want to be fair to those people. Maybe some of it is ignorance, some of it is a lack of intelligence, but a lot of it could also just be people don't know.
Well, yeah, I think that's what it is. Like, when I bring that up, I don't bring that up as a knock on our family members who are seeing these things and believing these things. If anything, the worry I have mostly comes down to this. When you look at us, you and I specifically, and many of our colleagues, and the inner circle that we live within, and then we look at those who don't, who maybe see something like this on Facebook, for instance, and believe it, who is the majority? It's not us. It's them.
Yeah, and that's the thing. That's why I use the word scary in a sincere way, because I have seen people that I know are smart not be able to tell the difference at times, depending on what they're looking at.
Yeah.
But the fact that they can fall for these things, I do think is indicative of exactly what you're talking about there, in the sense that the majority of people probably can't tell the difference in some way or another. Maybe they don't care as much as whether it's an actor or AI, which is another thing, because there's a lot of people that are just pro AI and want to see these things, which not my cup of tea, as Spike Lee would say.
No comment, because it's not going to be nice.
Yeah. So like, that's why it's important to be loud and to push back against these things.
Yeah.
So that way we can educate people formally on why this is a bad idea.
I agree.
And I do not want to see more of this. This is
I
terrible.
agree. I agree, man.
But AI is so prominent right now that I don't think this is going away. I don't think it's going away.
I don't think so
we're gonna
either.
see more of these pop
Yeah.
up. But I guess if we just knock them down one by one, whenever Tilly Norwood version 2 comes out, just come out and be like, nope, no thanks. I didn't like version 1 all that much.
That'll be scary.
All right. Before we get to sports movies, let's talk Avatar: Fire and Ash. New trailer came out. Is it December already? I need to know.
movie looks fun. Looks
Yeah.
fun.
Man, it looks wild. It looks absolutely like as epic and as vast and grand as I would expect it to be.
It also looks, and maybe I'm just giving James Cameron a little bit too much credit because he's not someone who's known for complexity or nuance in his movies, and that's one of his greatest strengths in a way, is not going for that. He's an emotional filmmaker. He's a passionate filmmaker. But we sort of saw seeds of complexity in The Way of Water, right? As far as kind of the line being blurred between Na'vi and humanity. Well, it seems like those lines are blurring even more based on the way this trailer presents its conflict, which
Yeah.
is kind of interesting. How weird is it going to be that with each Avatar film, each one is better than the one that came before it?
It very much looks like that could be the case.
I know.
Deeply, deeply love The Way of Water, though. So I don't know. I don't want to assume that this is going to be quote unquote better because it's got a lot of work to do to get to that point for me. But it could.
Yeah. Oh
it
my gosh.
very well could, because my God, the trailer, to your point, it does look like it's heading in that direction, which is very exciting. And it is introducing new things, new complications, complexities that look very intriguing. I'm very excited for that. I love the new villain here. I think once again, someone's not going to make it out. And I don't know what that's going to look like, but it does look like it's going to have another emotional payoff of some sort.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I never thought I would see the day where I start to become an Avatar stan. And I say this as someone who still thinks that first Avatar is far and away James Cameron's worst movie.
Same. I don't think it holds up terribly well.
No.
Either. Yeah.
No, we talked about this before. I would not call The Way of Water one of the greatest sequels ever made. It's not quite at that level because that's the highest bar you can ever make. But I think the dichotomy between Avatar and The Way of Water, it's one of the greatest sequel improvements I've ever seen.
I mean, all the way back in January, where you had PTA at your number one, I had Avatar Fire and Ash as my most anticipated film of the year. And this is exactly why. I'm with you. Like, I would have never have guessed that I would become this huge champion of Avatar. But I think The Way of Water is that good. And good Lord, Fire and Ash looks phenomenal.
I know.
It looks really great. It doesn't even have to be The Way of Water good for me to love it. And for it to maybe even be one of the better films of the year, given the trajectory of 2025 so far. I can't wait. I cannot wait. It looks gorgeous.
Best picture will be a 3-horse race between Hamnet, One Battle After Another, and Avatar Fire and Ash. Imagine if that's the reality that we end up getting.
I would love that. Are you kidding me? I would love it. Yes, please make that happen. I want that more than anything in the world. All right, Brendan, have you ever been caught stealing
I have not.
anything?
Because I'm a good boy.
Yeah, good boy. I haven't been caught stealing anything either, at least not in a serious way. Maybe when I was younger, my parents might have caught me trying to steal a Christmas present out of the closet. That could have happened.
Thankfully, that's not a federal crime.
That's not a federal crime. I don't have to worry about that. Darren Aronofsky's new film, Caught Stealing, though, it is out on digital this week, which is very exciting. Brendan and I had a conversation about this a few weeks ago, and it's unlike anything Aronofsky has done before, even if you can feel his presence in that film. It's very fun.
We like the
Gotta
movie.
love Austin
Yeah, we like the
Butler.
movie quite a bit.
Yeah, really liked it a lot. One of the better surprises of August for sure. Really enjoyed that film a lot. I highly encourage people to go and check this out. And
Yeah, I think
you know,
people will
whether
like it.
whether you win a digital code or not, go see Caught Stealing. It's really fun. I definitely had a great time. And it's nice to see Aronofsky in the spirit of enjoying life. he must be at a good place right now.
I've often said it. When he is not taking himself too seriously, I think he makes his best work. And this is another example of him having a little bit of fun. And I think it ranks as one of his better movies, honestly, for me personally.
Yeah, it's a good one. So go check it out. Again, it's on digital right now. We do have 5 digital codes to give away. So as always, be sure to follow us on social media at InSession Film on Twitter and Instagram. And you will see, I'll put out a post, and there'll be a way for you to interact with the post, and you'll be entered into a giveaway. And we're going to have a few of these coming up in the next few weeks. So be sure to follow us if you enjoy these giveaways, these digital codes. Maybe we'll have some Blu-rays coming up. Who knows? We'll see what the fall brings. But follow us. Well, you'll see the instructions there, and you'll have a chance to win a digital code for Caught Stealing. And it's available right now. Go check it out. And we thank Caught Stealing for their support. All right, Brennan, are you doing any traveling anytime soon? You going overseas at all?
Maybe sometime next year. There's a possibility. Not set in stone yet, but of course I have to be very cognizant about, roaming fees racking up, right? I got to think about that.
Exactly. If you're traveling at all, if you're going international, you want to be careful about those roaming fees. They absolutely do rack up. And we know that normal eSIMs, they can be costly. They can be overwhelming if you don't know how to remove your phone's SIM card. Who knows how to do that? Nobody does. That's why you got to check out Saley.
Yeah.
Their innovative eSIM helps reduce and eliminate roaming fees completely. It's extremely easy to use. It's affordable, and they have data plans in virtually every country in the world. And what's better than that?
There's nothing better than that. It makes everything so convenient, but also more importantly, safe for you as you're traveling overseas. The convenience is all about not having to wait in line at the airport for a local SIM card. That's really, really nice to have. You can also avoid scammers who are trying to sell you fake SIM cards outside of legitimate retail shops. You don't have to wander around looking for public Wi-Fi spots. These eSIM cards allow you to always stay connected. You don't even need you don't need an active eSIM because it will automatically activate when you reach your destination.
Yes, exactly. And Saley is built by Nord Security, so your privacy is going to be protected. You can browse confidently knowing that Saley will block any malicious ads as you travel safer in your adventures wherever you may go. Again, Saley is available in over 190 countries.
How about that?
They have apps available on iOS and Android. And once you download the app, you don't ever have to reinstall your eSIM. Simply choose a plan and you're good to go. They got chat support available 24/7. You can't go wrong with Saley. If you want to get Saley, you can click on the link in our description at checkout. Use the code ISF5 and you'll get 5% off your next eSIM plan. Again, click on the link in the description. Use the code ISF5 at checkout for 5% off your next eSIM plan. And we thank Saley for their support. All right, let's transition to sports movies. The Smashing Machine is coming out this weekend, starring Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. We'll, of course, have a review for that coming soon. So using that as an inspiration, we're going to be talking about sports movies that are based on true events, as such is the case with The Smashing Machine.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit of criteria here. So even though we're talking about sports movies, we did funnel this down a little bit. We are not going to include documentaries here, because really for 2 reasons. There's a uniformity with this when you're just talking about feature films. And honestly, in the spirit of transparency here, if we did include documentaries, they would absolutely steal the spotlight here at the top of the draft.
It completely changes the entire strategy for both
Yeah.
of us, because the second that we include documentaries, whoever flips first and actually gets to pick first, we're going after Hoop Dreams first, right? That's I think
Or
that would be your
Senna.
Senna. Free Solo is very good too.
Yeah.
What's the Muhammad Ali one? When We Were Kings, also one of the greatest in that specific
Yeah.
movement as well. So
Yeah, there are some great sports docs that I deeply, deeply love, and they would dominate. Also, it's such like in the context of a draft, there's an argument to be made about how fair or unfair that is as well, because documentaries are simply documenting something that has already happened, where obviously with a feature film, you're simply trying to replicate it and you're adapting in a sense. And it's two totally different forms that when you're looking at that through the prism of a draft, it feels larger than it would be if we were just doing a ranking.
right.
So we didn't feel like including them here for this reason. The other reason as well, when you exclude them and after you get through the first few that we'll do up here at the top, it be like there's such a massive murky middle that the back half of this draft is going to get really interesting.
And that honestly is more fun. The fact, like when we get to the mediocrity, it's going to get really interesting.
Yeah. And there's a lot of good, not great in this genre, I guess. This specific topic here. That I'm excited to see where that goes. Yeah, there's a lot of murky middle here.
I am too. Yeah, and we're both doing 10 movies here, so we're gonna get a lot of murky middlings when it comes to what rounds out our respective 10s.
Yeah, honestly, really, really curious because the back half of this could go in a number of directions.
I know. Well, it'll make it more competitive by being less competitive, right? Because I don't have to really worry about what ones you take. It's all about strategy for trying to figure out which ones that are technically mediocre do we think might have a stronger fan base if we want to have people vote on these teams. So that's where it gets kind of fun. I'm looking forward to it.
I am as well. So let's go ahead and jump into this. I guess we need to figure out an order here.
Oh, yeah. You usually do a digital coin flip, don't you?
Yes. Let me pull that up because I honestly had forgotten. All right. I have it here.
All right.
I have it here. Go ahead and call it.
I'm calling it? All right. Heads.
It's flipping. It's flipping. It is heads. So
Okay.
I'll let you choose. Do you want to go first or second?
I'll go first.
You'll go first. Okay.
All right.
Here we go.
So,
then. All right. First round. Brendan's going first, and we're gonna snake this as we always do.
absolutely. So I'll go first. I'll go with Raging Bull.
Raging Bull. Who could have seen that coming? All right.
Honestly,
Raging Bull.
It's the only reason why I wanted to go first was so I can snag that one, because that is a huge heavy hitter when it comes to this list. Maybe the heavy hitter, but there are a few others I'm sure we'll talk about. I have to admit, this is not one of my favorite Scorsese films. I'm picking this for draft purposes, not for preference purposes. I actually don't think it's a perfect movie. I think it's an aesthetically great movie
How
with
dare
great
you.
performance. I think it's got great performances, but I also think it's kind of a repetitive movie.
Okay.
I think that's my biggest issue with it.
Mhm.
But it is a very aesthetically interesting movie, especially for its time. It's very rough around the edges, and even though the script was only partially written by Paul Schrader, you could still sense a lot of his use of introspection and pain that he is most known for. You certainly see it more in movies like, let's say, Taxi Driver or Bringing Out the Dead, which were sole screenwriting credits for him. But you do get enough of that in Raging Bull that there is still a psychological edge to this movie. And it's one of the few sports movies that actually feels very dangerous, which I do appreciate about the film. So, yeah, it's a classic for a reason, and I know a lot of people love it.
Yeah, I am a big fan. I don't know where it ranks. I don't think it's in my top 5 Scorsese, but again, like Paul Thomas Anderson, Spielberg, Scorsese is just one of those that has such a a vast, rich filmography.
It's still a
that-
very good movie. I may have sounded
Yeah.
more negative than anything else, but it's 4 out of 5 on Letterboxd, something like that. It's just it's not one of my favorites.
Yeah, very fair. I really like it a lot. Love the central performance. But even if I went first, it would not have been my first pick. So I think this is going
Interesting.
to work out gloriously. My first
Awesome.
pick here is Moneyball. That would have been my first
That
pick.
would have been my second pick then. Yeah.
So I'm going Moneyball here. And I did actually rewatch this film not that long ago. And maybe last year. Might have been last year.
Mm-hmm.
That film holds up so well. It is really, really good. Brad Pitt, Jonah Hill, certainly at the top of their game, pun intended, I guess. In this case.
Nice. Well said, my man.
And it's just a really, really fun, engrossing movie about a moment in time that changed not just baseball, but all of sports. All of sports is deeply analytical these days. And it begins with Billy Beane and the Angels back in the early 2000s, late 90s, whenever that was.
Yeah.
And it's great. To me, it's easily one of the best films of 2011. I deeply, deeply love it. One of my favorite Brad Pitt performances.
Yeah,
It's awesome.
probably my favorite film that Bennett Miller has directed. I think he's only done 3 feature films, if I'm not mistaken, and this one might be my favorite. I'm with you. I love the analytical side of this movie, the way that sports is treated, almost like it's a job in finance or Wall Street or something like that. I think is really compelling. And I might ask this question in a facetious way, but I actually do mean this sincerely. Is this also Chris Pratt's best performance?
Probably. I mean, I actually,
it's
I
a
would
small
go to
role.
bat with him for him in some of the MCU stuff that he's done. I actually think he's pretty good there.
Fair. Guardians Volume 2 and Volume 3 especially.
Yeah, exactly. So I like him in the MCU, but outside of Marvel, certainly has left plenty to be desired. You are right about that. This is certainly up there. Absolutely. No doubt about that. Really do love Moneyball. And I also love the longevity of this film in terms of culture.
Yeah.
Because this film is still memeified. You find this film everywhere. And even when it's not in visual form, how often do you hear people say in relation to sports or other aspects of our lives where this is applicable, where you have to make it up in the aggregate? You hear that all the time in sports talk. Outside of baseball, I hear this in football. I hear this in hockey as well. Okay, we don't have this star player, or we lost this star player. How do we make up for that in the aggregate? You hear that all the time still.
You do. Yeah, that's a very good point.
That is obviously ripping out of this movie. So
that's a very good point. All right, Moneyball's off the board.
Moneyball off the board. So back to me as we get to round 2 here. So this is where I have to decide draft or quality, or my own personal feelings on these, because I am battling that here a little bit. I think the next film I'm going to go with, if we were doing a ranking, this wouldn't be my next pick in a ranking.
Okay.
But in a draft, I think this film will be popular in a draft. So I'm going to go with Remember the Titans for myself.
I had a hunch you were going to go with that one.
Yeah. And obviously still really love the film. Still really love the movie. Don't get me wrong.
I'm with
Very,
you. I
very
think
good.
for draft purposes, this is the next pick. It makes a lot of sense.
And I still think it's one of the best football movies, or it's up there. One of the better football movies.
Sure.
Really inspiring, really fun. Love the characters. It's hard not to like this film, as sentimental as it ends up being in places, but also just in terms of the football stuff. Like that moment during the game, the one game where the other team is cheating a little bit and they have to overcome it. And you get that moment where he calls the defense to the sideline and that score ramps
Make sure
up,
they
and you get that
remember
break.
forever.
that
Like they
that
played
is
the Titans.
just impeccable movie making. Like they're just
Will Patton.
incredible.
Will
movie
Patton.
moment. Oh, it's so good. Deeply, deeply love it. So yeah, I really love it, and I think it's going to be a big player here as far as voting goes. So my second pick here.
I think so. Yeah, I was secretly hoping you were going to go with your JD pick instead of the draft
I thought about
pick.
it. I definitely thought about it. Yeah.
I'm curious what that pick was if you do end up getting it and I don't snag it first. But remember the Titans, it makes perfect sense to get that one pretty early. I think that's going to be very popular here. So snaking back to me, my next pick, let's see. This is, now we're starting to get a little complicated here. But I think for my next pick, to keep things draft heavy, or at least popular within the draft here, I think I'm going to go with A League of Their Own next.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah. Again, kind of a movie that sort of predated what it meant to become memeified with Tom Hanks and his amazing quote there. So I have to give the movie a lot of credit in that regard. And this is where I think categorizing this draft as sports movies inspired by true stories makes a lot of sense. We could have easily called this sports biopics to save some words, but many of these are kind of fictionalized renditions of true stories. And some of these other ones we'll talk about might also fit that mold. We'll get to those later, but A League of Their Own does take quite a few liberties, even though it is inspired by some real life people, as well as the real life All American Girls Professionals Baseball League. Even though there are some liberties there is still a lot of truth in the historical sense of place of it. And it's also just a very sweet movie. And I think nowadays a very timely movie, just given what it represented at that time and how it feels even more predictive nowadays than it ever did before. So a very rewatchable one as well. So that's my next pick there. Very good baseball movie.
That's a good pick. Really like that a lot.
I think for my next pick, I'm going to go with the Brendan pick, the movie that I love, and perhaps this will be maybe my way of trying to cater to some of our audiences that might be more connected with more recent movies. And hopefully that'll help here. And I think this is also a film that aesthetically and even somewhat topically ties pretty closely to something like The Smashing Machine. They do seem like they could be pretty similar. So my next one, I'm going to go with The Iron Claw.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah,
that's a really good one.
Yeah, one of my favorite films of the... What was that? Was that last year or was that the year before? I can't even keep track of my years anymore.
I think that was the year before, if I'm not mistaken. Was that 23?
It may have been 23. Either way, great movie.
I'd have to look.
Amazing movie.
Yeah, 23.
Deeply sad movie.
Very.
About the most cursed family in all of professional wrestling. And a missed opportunity to give Zac Efron some awards love. He's terrific in that. And that final scene he has with his sons is a gut punch. Love it so much.
Yeah, that's a great one. That was pretty high on my list. I'm a little surprised it went this high, but at the same time, maybe I shouldn't be. And it's a great pick as far as also pandering to the vote. So that's a good one. Really like that a lot. All right, back to me. Yeah, I have a few here I'm debating.
Okay.
All right, I'm going to go with the next one. I'm going to go with here is a middle ground of movie that I really like. And also, I think there are a lot of fans of this. So I think it'll tailor well to the vote as well.
Okay.
Even like, I think the broader opinion on this is higher on it than I am, but I do really like it a lot. I'm going to go with James Mangold's Ford v Ferrari.
Nice. Okay. Yeah, that was a fun movie.
Fun movie. Really, really fun movie. Yeah, really like this a lot. Entertaining, perhaps a little formulaic, but it also holds wink, wink.
We are not the first to use that joke.
But there are some surprises emotionally that I really liked. And, I think Christian Bale and Matt Damon are excellent in that film, especially Bale, who is so remarkably charming and magnetic in that movie. So, yeah, I really like that a lot. And again, I think I think there's a lot of fans that will help me with the vote here. So
For sure.
Ford v Ferrari. All right, my next one here. Say I'm debating between nostalgia. I have some nostalgia here. I have a few more JD picks to go to here.
Mm-hmm.
There's also just some quality. There's a few others that I think are high in quality here as well. So I'm debating through all of this here in the moment. But that's the fun of this draft, right? You have to see where it goes.
We're kind of in that point where we have a lot of great ones to still go for. And then when we get these off the table, it's going to be like, okay, now where do we go from here?
Yeah. All right. I think I have my next one.
Okay.
Man, I'm really debating this in real time. If you could hear the thoughts in my head, it's just bouncing all over the place. What do I do?
Hey Siri, can you play the theme for Jeopardy?
Exactly. Yeah, don't hum it though. I don't want to get demonetized on YouTube. All right. I am gonna go to a movie. I'm gonna go a little bit of quality here. A film that I really do like. I honestly think this is one of the best sports movies ever made. If we were doing a ranking, this would be pretty high on my list. I don't know where, but it'd be pretty high. I'm gonna go with Friday Night Lights.
Dang it.
From 2004.
Now you have 2 high school football movies on your list.
I do. I know. I didn't necessarily plan on that. Again, I don't know how this was going to shake out.
I was actually kind of hoping to snag that one next.
But man, I love this movie. Yes, sports is a big part of it. Football is the backdrop, and you know there's a lot of footballing going on here, but beyond the football, that is a deeply poignant and human movie. Yeah. More nuanced than a lot of other sports movies of its ilk.
Yeah.
Especially when you consider the Booby Miles stuff. That scene in the car is striking. One of the best sports
It's
moments
raw. It's
ever.
very raw. Yeah.
Devastating.
It's interesting for a movie that depicts high school football. Normally it would be kind of sanitized, and a movie like Remember the Titans is certainly not sanitized, but it has that Disney sheen to it. It has a glossiness to it by comparison. But Friday Night Lights almost feels like a documentary action film.
It does.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like a gritty handheld documentary almost comparatively.
Yeah.
And I think that's what I love about the ending of the film as well. It's not just a narrative subversion, but it makes so much sense for that film that is more concerned with the human beings involved in the sport itself. So to end in this unglorious way, where you walk away not as winners, but as individuals that have to come to terms with another hurdle in your life, and walking away still satisfied that you were able to give it your all by overcoming all of those things, those human obstacles. There's so much dramatic bite and thematic heft to it that I deeply love. So this would, again, on a ranking, this would be pretty high for me. And I still think there's going to be a lot of fan vote here for this one.
I think there are a lot of people who like it. Yeah.
Yeah, I really like it a lot. So
man,
Friday Night Lights, I love this movie a lot.
I should find a football movie.
there
are still some. There are still some.
There are a few. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if I'm going to take it yet, though. Yeah, because now it's snaking back to me, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep. Back to you.
All right. I think for my next pick, I'm going to go with one of the more critically acclaimed sports movies, at least as of late. I know it has some detractors, but it is a movie that I do think is still pretty timely given the way it treats publicity and given its central star just being so hot right now, and that is Margot Robbie. So I'm going to go with I, Tonya.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that was pretty high on my list as well. I was hoping I could snag it in later rounds. Was kind of my, because I do love this movie. In fact,
I think it's really good.
When it first came out, it might have been in my top 10, if I'm not mistaken.
I think it was. I think it was in my top 20 somewhere, but yeah, I'm pretty sure you had it maybe around number 10, something like that.
It was like around 10, maybe 11 or 12, but it was hovering, certainly hovering in that, around that 10 spot.
Yeah.
I deeply love it a lot as well, and very much fits the mold of everything we just talked about with Friday Night Lights, which, given the story that it's depicting, you would expect that, I guess. There's a lot of drama and emotion tied to that story. So it makes sense that it's more about that than the sport itself. But also that's why it's great. I really like it a lot.
I think it's a very good movie. Yeah. And I think in a way, given the way it treats publicity for a public figure like a Tanya Harding, for instance, in a way the movie almost has a strange timeliness to it that is weirdly effective. So I think it's quite good. So snaking back once again, I get another pick here. This is where I'm utterly confused. I think I know. I'm gonna take a chance with this next pick. I'm gonna take a swing. I'm gonna go with the nostalgia pick, purely the nostalgia pick. Certainly a nostalgia pick for me, and hopefully for many of our listeners, especially if they are of the same age demographic as we are. For my next pick, I'm going to go with the 1993 sports comedy film Cool Runnings.
Oh, God damn it. I was really hoping to get this in later rounds.
Oh,
I did not expect it to come up this soon. God, I'm so mad.
I didn't either until I was looking at what I had left, and I was like, you know what? I think I could start catering to the nostalgia crowd, and this is one that has a really strong cult following.
I'm one of the leaders of the cult. Yeah,
it's so good. It's so
funny.
good.
It's so good. Yeah,
it's a movie that, again, much like many of these, it does take artistic liberties to tell its own story, certainly in a more comedic way. But this is very much based on the Jamaican national bobsled team that won the 1988 Winter Olympics. So there is truth in that regard. But man, what a fun movie.
It is so fun. This film is ridiculously fun.
Back when Disney made great live action movies, even in the 90s.
Yeah, this film still holds up well for me. I really, really like it a lot. It's, of course, silly and goofy at times, but that is part of the charm. It knows exactly what it is, leans into it, and just has the greatest time with these characters. And I deeply, deeply love it. I'm mad I wasn't able to get this. I am so mad at you.
Sorry, man. I mean, I'm not sorry, but I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's a good one. I absolutely think you're going to get a lot of fan vote for that. Yeah,
that's really sweet movie.
Really like it a lot. That's one of those where, I've talked on here before about how anytime I'm feeling in a certain mood, and there are movies, especially if you're considering movies from your childhood, that you can put on and it just brings you back to a comfortable space. One of those, like the quintessential movie for me in that regard, is Men in Black. If I'm feeling down at all, I can put that on, and it just brings me to this serenity that puts me back at zero.
I don't want to get too sidetracked here because we're talking about sports movies, and obviously Men in Black is not going to be on our list. But that was playing somewhere just recently. I think we had YouTube TV on. It was probably playing on maybe TNT or TBS or something like that. And it got to the scene where Will Smith and Tommy Lee Jones are on that bench talking about joining Men in Black.
Yeah.
Like, that movie is severely underrated for how well written that it is. Like that scene in particular. What
so good.
Like, why The Secret? People are smart. A person is smart. People are dumb, panicky, and like that is a great line. That is great writing for a movie like that. You wouldn't see that in any commercial blockbuster these days.
No, you wouldn't. The whole training montage is. Anyway, we're getting down a rabbit hole, but that film is great. Anyway, I bring that up to say Cool Runnings is one of those movies as well.
Now I just want to draft Men in Black. Alien hunting. It's a great sport.
Yeah. Anyway, Cool Runnings. I do really like it. All right. So back to me. All right. I'm going to go with 2 JD picks here. So I think we're at that point in the draft, and they're still available. Thank God. Then I'm going to go with some JD picks here. The first one is going to be Ron Howard's Rush.
I knew that was coming when you said JD pick.
Yeah. Going to go with a little bit of Ron Howard's. Like, I still maintain that film is maybe the most underrated film of the 2010s. It is stupidly good. It holds up well. I rewatched that film a few years ago, maybe 2022, but some years ago. And I still have the same feeling. It's also one of the most underrated scores from Hans Zimmer. It is phenomenal. That score is bombastic in all of the best ways. Fits that film perfectly. I love the cinematography, the performances of that film. Brule probably should have gotten. I think I would have given him a nomination for Best Supporting Actor for that year. Just absolutely incredible.
It's also one of those movies that really kind of proves that Ron Howard really could have been one of the great directors.
He could have. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
He only has a few movies like that. He doesn't have many, but he has a few where it's like, man, where has this Ron Howard been?
I know.
This movie, Apollo 13, maybe Parenthood. Like those are movies where it's like, man, where has this guy been? Stop directing How the Grinch Stole Christmas.
Seriously. It's like there are some movies where it feels like he just signs up for the paycheck, or he was around and the studio was like, do you want a job? And he's like, sure, I have nothing else to do. But then there are movies where he's like, I want to do this. I'm inspired to do this. And it comes through. There's absolutely a huge difference. Rush is one of those. It is phenomenal. That film is really, really good. So yeah, love that. And then my next pick here is going to be Miracle, since Mystery Alaska is not a real sports movie or based on a real event. Although as much
as I thought you might try to argue that it is, but I'm glad you're not.
It was real, right? I think Mystery is a real town.
It was real in your heart.
Exactly. It's real here in my heart. That's all that matters. So yeah, I'm going to go with Miracle. I still really like Miracle. I don't think it has the same reverence that Mystery Alaska does, but I think it has much more than you get with the Mighty Ducks movies. My only issue with Miracle is I think it holds back on some of the great depths of that story because it's got to tell the whole thing, and it just doesn't have the runway. Not enough time. If that film was 3 hours long, I think it would have been the best sports movie of all time. It had that potential to be anyway. Yeah. But you can tell that Disney just wanted to give you all the P's and Q's. Let's get to the main meat of the story. Because there's a lot of great depth to that story that just gets cut out. That just is there. And if it is there, it's kind of fleeting. It's not as substantive as it could have been. So that's kind of my criticism of the film. It's why I don't love it quite as much as something like Mystery Alaska or some of the other better sports movies I've seen. But for what it is, for its kind, it's still really good. You know, it still gets the heart of the story right, which is the main thing. Yeah. And the hockey's not as cartoonish as the Mighty Ducks movies, and that goes a long way for me, right? Because this is the same company that did the Mighty Ducks movies
and made a joke of it. Yeah.
Made a huge joke of it. Did not care at all about the sport. Miracle at least cares about the story or the sport. And
it does care about
the hockey right. Yeah.
Yeah. So, although interestingly, maybe you could still argue that a movie like Inside Out 2 gets the hockey even more right than Miracle does.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, as limited as the hockey is in that film, it gets it extremely great details, great attention to details in that movie.
Yeah. That's a true story, right? Can we draft that?
Yeah, I think it was true. But I still like Miracle a lot. And that story in general is just, it's ridiculous. I really like it. So I'm going to go with Miracle here.
All right. So now snaking back to me. I do quite like Miracle as well. Gavin O'Connor, guy knows how to direct sports movies, from what I understand.
He does. And I also think Miracle will get like a lot of fan vote there. Like I think the broad opinion on that film is higher than I am. on it.
I think it might be, yeah. And the same could be said about the pick I'm going with next. So I finally have a chance to put a football movie on my list. So I'm going to go to the year, what is this, 1993? I'm going to go to the film Rudy with Sean Astin.
Good old Rudy.
Yeah, obviously playing Daniel Eugene Rudiger, his dreams of playing with Notre Dame.
Mm-hmm.
What's pretty interesting about this movie, and I just read this, apparently this is the first film that Notre Dame allowed to be shot on campus since 1940.
Wow. Okay.
So clearly they had some love and faith in the movie. And of course, given the subject matter that it is, it works as great promotional material for Notre Dame. So I certainly understand that.
Sure.
It is a movie that I do have to give some credit to because we often, this is where I think the exercise here of doing a draft for true sports movies is going to get interesting, because there was a huge influx of these almost Disney-fied sports movies, mostly around football, that it felt like we got one or two of them every year for a while, right? And I think a lot of that started because of the success of Rudy. So I have to give the film some credit for kind of being, in a weird way, ahead of the curve. And then movies like Remember the Titans will come along and kind of solidify that curve a little bit further. But in a way, Rudy was maybe a little bit of a trendsetter, just given this type of inspirational story specifically. So I do appreciate that about it. It's not a film I'm fully in love with, but I know it has its fans, and I think it is a very charming film nonetheless.
Yeah, as a Michigan Wolverines fan, I am obliged to loathe this movie.
Yeah, you have to. I get it.
Just part of being a Michigan fan. Notre Dame, a huge rival to Michigan. So I, as much as I want to like Rudy, and on a personal subjective level, I might secretly like the movie a little bit, but
you just can't admit that. You can't admit that. Otherwise, you'll be banned for life.
Exactly. So I have to stick to my convictions as a Michigan fan. First and foremost, they bleed maize and blue. So I have to disavow Rudy, unfortunately, even if maybe there are some good things in it. If you're a Notre Dame fan, you probably love it, and I understand.
Absolutely.
I'll just say that,
Yeah. Good for you if you're a Notre Dame fan.
Yeah, exactly. Good for you.
Yeah, good for you. All right, so that was my next pick there. So I've got another one here. I'm stuck between two. I think I'm gonna go with I'm gonna take a chance and go with this particular one. This is a movie that I don't really care for all that much, but since you got two very iconic football movies early, I can't let you get two Bennett Miller movies. So I'm going to go with Foxcatcher next.
Yeah, I was thinking about that next if you didn't take it. That's a good one. I think people, like, the fan vote will be there for that, I think.
Well, I think especially for the three lead performances.
For some people,
yeah, I think the performances are really what keeps that movie in the back of people's minds, especially given how Channing Tatum is having such a resurgence nowadays, and he's terrific in this movie. It is a movie I admittedly don't love, but I love it as a performance piece more so than I do a movie. So I at least appreciate that. It's not as good as Moneyball. I would have absolutely taken Moneyball over this one if you hadn't gotten it first. But I do think Foxcatcher at least tells a very fascinating story that I just don't know if the movie fully capitalizes on. But to your point, I think it has its fans. And I think that'll certainly help.
Yeah, I do like it overall. I don't love it. I do think it stumbles over its ambitions a little bit, but those performances that you're talking about are great.
Yeah, it's a very dark movie too.
Yeah, a dynamic score to it as well that I appreciate.
Yeah,
I don't love some of its scripting, some of its ambition toward certain parts of that movie.
Yeah, with you.
But a lot of people do really like it. So I was absolutely going to take it with one of my next two if you didn't. So
okay. Well, I'm glad I did. Sneak Attack.
A good old Sneak Attack. I'm not as upset as Cool Runnings, but still a smart pick. All right, for my next one, I'm a little surprised it's gotten this far, but maybe not. Some people consider this to be one of the best sports movies ever made. I wouldn't go that far, but I do think it's good. I'm going to go with Gene Hackman and Hoosiers.
Okay.
next
Okay.
pick.
Yep. I was looking at that one too.
So I'm happy to get that here, down this far on the list.
Indiana, baby.
Yeah. And, I don't know what else to say about this movie that hasn't been said 1,000 times already. This is a lot like Rudy, right? Where it's like, okay, we all know this story.
Same director as Rudy.
Yeah, same director as Rudy. Just in his sports phase.
Yeah.
In the 80s, was Rudy in the early 90s?
Rudy was
Or also
1993.
93? Yeah, okay, that's
Yeah.
what I thought. But, similarly, same kind of structure, performatively very good, a lot of charm to the film.
Yeah.
One of those movies that kind of helped set the formula to what it is.
Yeah.
And did it very, very well. Like, there's a reason people look at Hoosiers as one of those, classic sports movies. And Gene Hackman is, he's always great. He's never phoning in a performance.
Yeah. I picked Rudy over this one because I just think Rudy has more of the following, but I do think Hoosiers is a better movie. I like Hoosiers a lot more than Rudy personally.
Yeah, that's fair. That's totally fair. I'm probably about the same on them both as a movie.
Okay.
Probably about the same. But
Well, I mean, Hoosiers is not Notre Dame, so
yeah, that's it. I can at least like this movie. So that's certainly part of it. And maybe I would take it just for the Gene Hackman of it all. That might be
that's
the
the
deciding
thing.
factor more than anything.
Yeah. Gene Hackman just makes everything better.
He just makes 100%. And he is really great. So I don't know. I think Hoosiers might have as much of a following, at least for a certain demographic.
Yeah.
For I'd say people like in my age group would equally go for that.
That's a great point because Hoosiers and Rudy both kind of represent each of our age groups in a way. Rudy was more my demographic. Hoosiers was probably more your demographic then.
Mm-hmm.
It's an interesting point. Okay.
So I think in that regard, they're pretty even kills. So
okay. Yeah, that's actually a good point.
So I'm going to go with Hoosiers here. Okay, so then for my next pick here, what am I going to go here? All right. I'm going to take a risk with this next one.
I like a risk.
And it's a risk because it's an older movie. It's not often considered one of the best sports movies, which is a bit ironic because it won 4 Oscars, including Best Picture. It won for screenplay, costume design.
I know where you're going with this.
Best Original Score from Vangelis. And it was nominated for 3 others as well, I believe, including director, supporting actor for Ian Holm. I am going with Chariots of Fire for my next pick.
It's got one of the most iconic music themes ever.
Yeah.
Vangelis, baby.
Absolutely.
Funny, I first heard that music cue, that main theme, not from this movie, but from National Lampoon's Vacation.
Oh.
When they're running to the Wally World amusement park only to find out that it's closed. That was the first time I ever heard this music cue as a kid. So every time I hear it, I just associate with Chevy Chase now.
Yeah, I think that's very fair. Yeah, I mean, I do really like this film a lot. I don't love it. I don't love the film, but I do really like it. It's one of those classic sports movies. I guess a lot like Hoosiers in the sense of kind of defining certain formulas that carried on years and years later. So, and it won Best Picture. That's got to count for something.
No, it absolutely does. I don't think it's a great movie, but it's a watchable movie and has some charming elements to it.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's interesting with each of these picks that we're going with. We're kind of slowly peeling back the onion a little bit as to where the influence of sports movies really came from. because each one is kind of like peeling back a little bit more. I talked about that with Rudy. Maybe that actually peels back to Hoosiers. Maybe that actually peels back to Chariots of Fire. So like there is kind of an interesting effect going on here.
Absolutely.
All right.
Okay, so we are back to you. How many? We got to be getting to the end.
We're getting to the end. You have 2 more picks left. I've got 3.
Okay. All right, let's do it. What do you got?
Oof. My next pick, I'm going to do a risk like you just did. And this is a risk because it's a movie that wasn't that well received when it first came out. But like almost all of this director's films, they all seem to have some level of like reappraisal at some point. And I think this film is being targeted for some reevaluation. And I'm going to go with Michael Mann's Ali.
Oh, yeah. I almost considered picking this over Chariots of Fire, but went with Fire because of its best picture qualities,
which is fair,
and kind of its reputation in that regard. But if I wanted to go with my heart, I would have went with Ali for sure.
Yeah, I think it has.
love this.
There are some good things in the movie. I don't fully love the movie. It's one of Michael Mann's lesser movies, in my opinion. Might even be my least favorite Michael Mann film, not counting his weird horror film, The Keep, which I admittedly haven't even seen yet. But it has a great central performance from Will Smith. And it is a film, like I said, I feel like some people are starting to rediscover this one. And that tends to be the case with almost all of Michael Mann's films. Even movies like Public Enemies are starting to get re-evaluated a little bit.
Yeah.
And I feel like Ali is another one. So perhaps it might be slightly top of mind for some people. So that's why I wanted to try and take the swing and go for it here, even though I don't think the movie is necessarily perfect.
Yeah, that's fair. I do really like this film. I mean, honestly, my only pushback in the context of what we're doing here is I just don't think it has the reputation. You are right. It's getting a bit of a reevaluation at this point. I just don't know
is it too
how much
early?
weight that carries.
Yeah. It might be something that has more weight in like 5 or 6 years or something like that.
Yeah, perhaps. I could be way off base here. Maybe there would be more people willing to vote for Ali over something like Chariots of Fire. And maybe that's a miscalculation on my end. I don't know. But my gut instinct is that more people, especially if we have enough awards fans here listening, they'll lean more toward Chariots of Fire. But Ali, generally speaking, you are on the money there that it's often considered to be lesser Michael Mann. I do really like it, though. And I think Will Smith is great.
I think it has some good things in it for sure. Yeah, it is overall very good.
Yeah.
All right, so I get one last pick here before going back to you. I have a film here that I kind of want to pick, but I want to see if you actually think this is a sports movie, because it technically is a sports movie, but it's more so about sports apparel, and that's the Ben Affleck film Air.
Oh, man. You're always bringing up these films that fall in a gray area. Man, I don't know. That's such an outlier to the rest of these movies. My gut instinct is to say that that's more of a marketing movie or a business movie.
That's why I bring it up as a question. I would take it if you were okay with it. I want to get a second opinion on it because honestly, I can argue both ways with it.
Yeah, I'd say it's more of a business movie than a sports
I think that's
movie.
fair. I think that's
sports
fair.
Just happens to be
the business that it's depicting.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. That is perfectly fair. We will take it off the table. So with that, now I have nowhere to go, really. I have no idea where to go next.
Just don't take my last two. Okay.
Okay. Well, I can't guarantee that.
You've already done it twice.
I've already done it twice. Okay. I think I know where I'm going with this one. At least I think so. I'm stuck between like 3 here. That I'm just not so sure about. I'm trying to find some stuff on this one so I can actually talk about it. Yep. Okay. You know what? I'm going to argue that this is a sports movie, despite what it depicts, because many people would say something like chess, maybe a sports movie, maybe not really. I'm going to go with Queen of Katwe for my next pick.
Yeah, I mean, if we want to consider games to be sports, I mean, I wouldn't consider it to be a sport myself, but it is. There's a gamesmanship element to it, though.
It's treated in a sportsman-like way.
Yeah, and the film itself does act as a sports biopic.
Mm-hmm. And
like,
it was
like formula from a formula perspective, it very much is. So
and
from that sense,
it was adapted from an ESPN article. So
okay,
and it was co-produced by ESPN Films. I'm just looking that up now.
Go.
I totally forgot about that. So
perfectly fair,
okay,
then.
I think we're there. I think we're there. This is a charming movie. And it certainly fits into that category of when Disney was really like commodifying sports movies based on true stories. There were so many of them. Insert really well-known actor or actress of that particular time into the lead and just do something with it that we've seen many times. But this one was way better than its contemporaries, I think. And I felt like a lot of critics at the time were kind of surprised by it. I think Lupita Nyong'o is terrific in this one. Medina Nawanga, I believe her name is also quite terrific here. So I just think it's a very sweet movie. And I felt like I needed more sweet movies on my list and not just rely on Cool Runnings for that one. So yeah.
Yeah, very fair. That is a sweet movie. Very charming, extremely likable. You know, falls under that Chariots of Fire, Rudy Hoosiers kind of vibe that I really like. So yeah, I approve. Good stuff. And it didn't steal my pick. So
good.
I like it.
I mean, or dang it.
Or dang it. You know, I'm a little concerned actually about the film I think I'm going to go with at 10 because it could backfire on me. I'll get to that here in a second.
Okay.
The first film that I'm going to maybe choose here, this is also a bit of a question mark because the film has a sports element, objectively speaking. But we have to debate whether it is a true story qualifier because the true story element, and to your point, a lot of these films are picking and choosing to tell true parts and then it's fictionalizing a lot.
Yeah.
This movie fictionalizes a lot because it's less based off of a true story, but it's more so about the writer-director's memories of his childhood, which is kind of the same thing, but I'm curious to hear what you think. The Sandlot.
Okay. E. I don't think I can qualify that one.
Okay.
I think it's too much of an outlier when compared to these others that we have on our list already.
In what way?
In the sense that you look at these movies, all of these movies are a clear representation of real people and real history. That one isn't. And I think
it is. It's just not taking events verbatim. It's more so based off of his memory.
Yeah,
that's where it's very much a murky middle, but it is inspired by real events, but it's kind of, it's mixing memory around.
It's just so
in this ambiguous way.
It's so hazy. I think it's so loose. At the same time, though, I might just say, like, if it is something that would get pushback from voters, I'll say, okay, go ahead, take it. Maybe they'll disagree with you.
And I don't like the real reason I question it the most,
Mm-hmm.
or maybe I could phrase it in a better way. The reason I would actually consider it here, despite being in the murky middle, is because, and I'll take this film just because I know the story the most, Miracle, which we talked about earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Now you watch that and it's clearly inspired by real events. We know this.
Mm-hmm.
When you know the story, like I do, that film is no different than The Sandlot in terms of being in the murky middle. There's a lot about that film that just completely fiction. Like that film is 75% fictionalized, but you don't know that because all you know, and I don't mean you, I mean the universal you know the superficial facts.
Yeah.
You could argue, or I could make the argument that Miracle was also written and directed and told as if it's someone remembering what happened back in the 80s, not the actual event that took place. That's how murky that film is in terms of its fictionalization.
Then,
so like, I don't think it's all that different.
Then technically, doesn't that mean like almost every other movie ever made is based on a true story then?
I mean, kind of, right? Because don't writers and directors simply write based off their own experiences?
Yeah, and I guess the other thing too is like, are we only going to be looking at sports movies that depict historical events that were, as they say, in the history books? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The Sandlot isn't. And that's not a bad thing. It isn't. It's in a very different, murky category, to your point.
Well, but again, we don't know that though. Like it is based off of real events. It's based off his memory of what happened to him when he was a kid.
I know that, but I'm saying like, and this is not to knock the story of The Sandlot. It's not a historical event that was worth documenting. Like it's like all these other movies we've talked about have depicted true historical events that were written about, documentized about. Like there are things that ESPN would talk about, right?
Yeah. Okay. So now the way you articulate that is interesting. Like, are we talking about sports biopics that are historical enough from a broad context that's worth telling in a film format? If that's the criteria, then I understand.
That's the thing. Yeah,
the Sandlot.
we didn't lay that criteria out.
But we didn't lay that out.
Yeah.
That's why I wasn't sure, and that's why I was going to wait to the end to bring it up.
You know what? We might. I don't mean to be a jerk about this, but we might have enough listeners out there who don't agree with this being a pick and won't vote for you for it. So yeah, go ahead and take it.
But I think it'd be the opposite. Like the reason
I don't know.
Like I think there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be on my side with this, but I didn't want to be unfair to the exercise. That's why I waited to the last minute here.
I mean, yeah, we didn't talk about that criteria early enough to really define it, but at least I could speak for myself. My approach and my mentality around this was true sports stories that were, documented, that something like an ESPN would actually talk about, that we would talk about as a form of sports history, which I don't really qualify The Sandlot in that way. That said, that's my interpretation. We didn't agree on that early enough.
Yeah, because I didn't come in with that exact criteria.
It technically isn't Mystery Alaska technically in that same category. Wasn't that sort of written from a similar kind of mentality?
No, I think that's wholly fiction. I mean, there could be like the pond hockey element very much could be an inspirational, like childhood kind of thing. Everything outside of that is so heightened that I don't see it in the same vein as The Sandlot. But I don't know.
You know what? In a way, I'm at this point now where I kind of want you to take it because I'm actually genuinely curious to see what the response is.
Yeah, it would be interesting.
I'm actually like, and I don't mean to either elevate your list or sabotage your list by including it. I don't want your list to be sort of the scapegoat for that. But I'm actually genuinely curious to see what the response is regarding that movie and this category.
Yeah. I don't know.
If you feel comfortable taking it, then at this point now I am so curious enough that I'm kind of willing to allow it now.
Yeah. And I was curious to see what you think. If it I mean, we're so split on this. I honestly don't know. I'm half tempted to just leave it off because it's been so divisive. But I don't think it's a whole lot different than some of these other movies.
Okay.
In terms of, again, when we're talking about these things did happen, regardless of how historical they may or may not be. But these things did happen, and then we're fictionalizing a bunch of things around it. That is very much true about David Mickey Evans. He's talked about that forever. So I don't know. It just depends, I guess, on where you want to go with that.
Why do I have to be the one to make the decision now?
But again, like, I want to be fair to the exercise.
Well, it's fair to your exercise.
This is where, like, we don't do a lot of live streaming, but this would be a fun live streaming moment right here because then we could hear from people in real time what other people think.
Well, I'm trying to look up everything that David Mickey Evans has said about his experience to see how much of this was actually derived from his memory. Because I'm trying to almost mathematically qualify it now to see how much it actually is.
Which, is hard to do in real time. But,
I know. Yeah.
There's plenty of articles about it, though. Maybe we can circle back to it. I'll give you a moment. If you do want to try to look up something on it, I don't know. Because I do have two picks here, ultimately, right? So
you do, yeah. If you want to talk about one other one, as I'm trying to do some stuff here. I mean, to your point, there are many articles here. Some of these articles I'm finding are actually saying directly, yes, this is based on a true story. And then I'm seeing another one here from Screen Rant saying it's not based on a true story, but it does have some truthful elements to it. Most notably, an experience of trying to retrieve a baseball from someone's backyard where there was a big dog. That's more or less the extent of where I'm seeing the truthfulness in this.
Yeah, I mean, he's talked about, because I believe that Screen Rant article was one I looked up earlier as well. And I could be conflating different stories because I looked up, no joke, earlier, probably about 10, trying to decipher this. But I think somewhere in that one, it said that it wasn't technically based on a true story, but
yeah, that's the one I'm
and
seeing.
A lot of others have repeated this. It was strongly influenced by his memories of his childhood. So again, if we're taking that at face value, these are things that did happen to him, which is why they're memories. And then he's telling a story around those events that happened to him when he was a kid. So one has to assume, or again, take that at face value, that was a true event that did happen. And then
and like I said, that's nearly every movie ever made then. Does that broaden this list too much?
Maybe. I mean, the answer to that very much might be maybe. But again,
because there are probably other sports.
Where do you draw the line in that? Because so many of the movies we've already brought up are heavily fictionalized as well. So,
but there are so many other sports movies I probably could have considered for my list that I didn't because of this, like something like The Sandlot. If we agreed early on, I probably could have made room for something else that almost falls into that category because I'm sure there are many of them. Like, it could have actually changed my strategy a little bit.
Okay.
That's just my thinking, but at the same time, I at this point now, given that we've talked about it for like 75 hours, I kind of want you to pick it just because I'm really curious to see what the response is.
Yeah. All right. Well, I will circle back to it.
Okay.
Maybe.
Okay.
All right. My number 9, I'm going to go with Cinderella Man as my number 9.
Okay, interesting.
Okay. So, like, this is a film that I don't like. We're at that point where I feel about all, like, these films, I feel them all about the same.
Okay.
So it's hard for me to distinct this from really any other that I could choose from. But what I like about Cinderella Man is that it has some really great performances at its core. And I think narratively and thematically, there's a little bit more to chew on here than some of these others that I could go from that are like, a lot of sports movies tend to aim for the superficial charm of why it's inspiring, thus telling the story in film format. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. I'm not downing that, but I do think Cinderella Man is able to rise above that a little bit, despite also playing in the same sandbox formula wise. So I do like it for that. And then you couple that with the performances that are there. And I do prefer it to some others.
Well, I will say this about Cinderella Man. It's clearly Ron Howard's attempt to recapture the magic, arguable magic he had with A Beautiful Mind. And I will say, I think Cinderella Man might be the better movie.
I think so as well. I think it is a better movie than A Beautiful
And
Mind.
I do say this as someone that doesn't hate A Beautiful Mind. I know it gets a bad rap, but there are things about that movie I do like. I think Cinderella Man gets more of the things right that Beautiful Mind got wrong. So it becomes a more uniform movie in that regard.
Okay, and then for my 10th film here, I'm just gonna remove The Sandlot.
You're
I don't wanna
okay.
deal with the
Okay.
headache.
Okay.
I'm not gonna deal with the headache.
Like, I was actually here trying to do a last minute 10th pick because I have one more pick after you're done here. I was looking up research and thinking like, okay, if you can argue that The Sandlot is based on a true story, is Rocky based on a true story? Let's see if I can find a loophole here. But I couldn't really find anything.
Yeah, there's no loopholes for Rocky.
Well, it was inspired by a real life fight between Chuck Wepner and Muhammad Ali. I did find that.
Yeah. And then again, that's when you're talking about inspiration and things that actually happened. The difference for me, my last thought on this is that with the difference in that scenario is that Rocky is taking inspiration from something else entirely. With The Sandlot, it's the writer and director's own memory, own experiences. So it is his. He's not pulling from something else. And I think that matters in that argument. But we did not discuss criteria. Obviously, Brendan and I come into this blind, and that has never been more evident. So if you ever thought we were lying, now you know we're not lying. We come
This
into
is what it
blind.
this is what it sounds like or what it looks like when JD and I argue.
Yeah. Maybe we should in the future discuss criteria in depth a little bit more for next time.
We assume we have the same brain. Sometimes we don't. And
Sometimes
I think
we
have
don't.
I think we have to stop assuming that.
All right. My next film here, again, another one of those that I do think is flawed. I don't think it's great, but I think it rises above the formula a little bit, at least at times. And I think its action sequences are pretty thrilling, actually. I'm going to go with Seabiscuit for my last pick.
Okay.
And I just, again, kind of like Miracle, I just love that story. I love that story. I like the story of Seabiscuit. To me is, it really is one of those fascinating, inspirational, heartbreaking stories.
I love
really
its
great.
ending. The ending
Yeah.
is great.
The ending is great.
Yeah.
And one of the greatest horses of all time. So, yeah, I'm gonna go with the Seabiscuit, the greatest athlete of his era. Yeah, and again, I think it's able to overcome its flaws more so than other movies I could have chosen here.
I think it has some good qualities. Yeah, I think it's a sweet movie. Many of these sports movies are sweet. Like they're sweet. They're nice. And sometimes it's nice to have nice movies.
And the thing I like about Seabiscuit is I think it's able to overcome that sweetness more so than others. And I love that it's willing to lean into tragedy more than some of its brethren as well. And I think the ending is pretty killer too. And Tobey Maguire's great.
All right. So I have one more pick and then we're done.
Yeah.
I have no idea where to go with this. I have a movie that I think I could go with as a more objective pick, but it's a movie I don't really care for all that much. And I actually don't know if it has a following. It might not anymore. I'm going to go with it because I have no other basis for picking anything else other than kind of playing the dartboard game at this point. So I'm picking the movie that I can only have an argument for, and that is The Fighter.
Okay. Yeah.
And
that's a good one to end on.
Yeah. I don't love this movie, and the thing that worries me is the David O. Russell of it all. Because I know a lot of people just have a lot of negative feelings towards the man, regardless of his talents as a director, and I certainly can sympathize with that. And I don't always love him as a director, and I don't really fully love this movie, despite it having some very good performances. If anything, the performances are the thing that I keep going back to, and maybe what most people keep going back to, kind of like the Foxcatcher syndrome in a way. I think it kind of fits in that same category for me. But maybe some of those performances will be enough to give the movie a little bit of an edge as we wrap up this thing.
Yeah. I don't hate The Fighter by any stretch of the imagination. I love the performances.
Yeah.
The David O. Russell of it all. I mean, he's one of the worst human beings on the planet. I get that. It's one of those things. Some of the greatest films we've seen, not that The Fighter falls into that category, but sometimes you have to separate the art from the artist. Some people are willing and able to do that. Others aren't. I think that's okay. Just depends on your own personal feelings. I generally am able to separate the two.
Same.
I do hope David O. Russell leaves Hollywood altogether. I think that would be great for the industry.
I mean, yeah, if he's going to keep making movies like Amsterdam, I think he's done.
Yeah, and he might be. He might be. But I think he's made some good movies. And I think The Fighter qualifies. Again, separating David O. Russell. And the performances are great. Genuinely great.
Yeah, I love Silver Linings Playbook. We actually didn't really talk about it much when we did our 1999 retrospective, but Three Kings isn't bad.
Yeah. Yeah, I like Three Kings as well. Yeah. He's made some good movies. Terrible man, but some good movies in there. All right, so that is our list. Do you want to run them down one more time?
Absolutely.
Get out of here.
Yeah, so my list includes Raging Bull, A League of Their Own, The Iron Claw, I, Tonya, Cool Runnings, Rudy, Foxcatcher, Ali, Queen of Katwe, and The Fighter.
And I have Moneyball, Remember the Titans, Ford v Ferrari, Friday Night Lights, Rush, Miracle, Hoosiers, Chariots of Fire, Cinderella Man, and Seabiscuit. I think this debate, this draft will come down to how people feel about Foxcatcher and The Fighter. Because if we get enough voters that are pro those movies, I think you're running away with this. If we come across voters that are anti those movies, then I think it's going to be much closer in the end.
Yeah, I'd like to say I did that on purpose just to make this more competitive.
Well, I mean, I think it just depends on who votes and who we come across. So I think we'll see. I mean, I could see this kind of going back and forth. But
I think you've got some. I think you've got some heavy hitters though, dude. And honestly, ending on Seabiscuit is kind of an underrated pick, I must say. Primarily because it's actually one I didn't even think about. I completely forgot about that one until you said it. And you've got a lot of, like, I used this word before, I'm going to use it again. You have a lot of nice movies on your list. And many sports movies give us that warm, kind of fuzzy feeling. They're inspirational, right? And you've got a lot of them on your list. And many people might be looking for that sentiment when they vote for these.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if they are looking for that kind of response, I think you have it more than I do.
Yeah, I mean, there's like, I'd say that top 5 is pretty good. The bottom 5, and I like my list a lot, actually. I think this could be quite competitive. I just, when I'm looking at the 2 and I'm guessing, again, I'm just assuming certain things about how voters might feel. Because again, like I think there's a lot of people that have nostalgic ties to Hoosiers.
Yeah.
Or Chariots of Fire if they're a little bit older. But I think it's going to come down to, because Foxcatcher and The Fighter are divisive movies.
They very much are. Yeah.
And how divisive that's going to be in the vote versus, like Miracle, Hoosiers, Cinderella Man. Those are certainly safer picks comparatively.
Yeah.
For sure.
Which could work in your favor.
Yeah, which very much could work in my favor, for sure. And that was kind of the tactic there. Because, like I said, I would have gone with Foxcatcher, but I was going to wait till later in the rounds. You just happened to get to it before me.
Yeah.
The Fighter, I don't think I was ever going to pick because I wanted to stay away from how divisive that may be.
Yeah.
But I do think it's a better movie than some of the safer movies that we ended up choosing here.
It has more of an edge, has more of a uniqueness to it for sure. Yeah.
So
plus, I needed something kind of dark and divisive after having something so universal like Cool Runnings.
Exactly.
I like to cover the gamut. I like to showcase everything.
Yeah, like like Cool Runnings, Rudy, or Queen of Cotway, kind of fall into that safe. Fun,
League of Their
charming,
Own. Yeah, League of Their Own's a very nice movie.
Yeah. So certainly some niceness there as well. Yeah, I'm curious. And I'm also curious about Ali.
Again, another divisive one.
Another divisive one. I think it's just going to depend on who votes. If we come across people that are hardened cinephiles, if that's the right term, then I think we'll see the votes lean your way, but it'll just depend. Should be interesting though.
Let's put it out there. Let's see what happens.
We'll put it out there. All right, so that is our sports movie draft. We'll also call this our Sandlot Memorial Draft.
This is going to come with a giant asterisk for that movie.
Okay, leave a comment below. Let us know what you think about the Sandlot. And look, I brought it up as a question. I didn't say I was necessarily picking it.
It's a good question.
I was curious. I was just curious. Because I think it qualifies, but I understand the argument and the pushback against it. So we'll see. Leave a comment below or hit us up on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Blue Sky. You can email us InSessionFilm@gmail.com as well. All right, before we get out of here, and we ended up going longer than we anticipated, so I apologize.
Yeah.
But One Battle After Another, that review is out. We also reviewed the film Twinless from James Sweeney. That was a really fun conversation as well. Features one of the best performances of the year that nobody is talking about, but should be. So we have a great time talking about that. New Chasing the Gold this week. New women in session as well. Dave and the writers are on fire. It has been insanely busy these last 2 days. With the festivals going on, there's just been a lot of reviews over at InSessionFilm.com. So be sure to go and check all of that out as well. Busy time of year. Crazy busy time of year. So with that said, I think we'll wind down. Any final thoughts, Brennan?
I want to hear what everyone has to say about the Sandlot. I am more curious about that than any results we get here.
Let us know. I'm curious. I am curious. All right. With that said, thanks for listening, everybody. Thanks for watching. Again, go check out our review of One Battle After Another. Really hope people enjoyed that conversation. We will, and stay tuned for the Smashing Machine this weekend. We'll give that a review on the next episode.
Yeah.
With all that said, thanks for listening, everybody. We'll see you next time on the InSession Film Podcast.